my Muppet smile. So when I do a screenshot, I can actually look like I'm smiling instead of looking down at my shoes going, oh my God, these things are worn already. Only 3 fucking months. Anyway, thank you for coming to Stone Soup, everyone. Thank you for coming to this all open mic. Hopefully the last one we'll see in a while, because we are having features in 2022, even if it kills me. And for those of you who have been following the Facebook group and any of my other social media pages or my main website, you know that Mega Sood is going to be our feature for the 12th. Mega has been in a ton of things. I first got introduced to her through Joshua Corwin, who I believe interviewed her for his special podcast. And we miss you, Joshua. Joshua introduced me to her, and she since then I can't not see her pop up in things, in books, anthology. She's actually in the Reimagine America anthology with me. She's in the pandemic special pandemic anthology, Life During the Pandemic website anthology. She's been in everything, everywhere, and she has a full-length collection out. So she's going to be featuring on the 12th. I should have featured her a week, months ago, but I'm glad I was able to time it to her release of her full-length collection. And I also got some connections from the Midwest. Hopefully I'll be making some announcements and hopefully a release party for a book coming in March. So more on that later, and hopefully some nice poets for the month of February. Enough of that. We've been talking enough for the Facebook live feed, and you'll be catching this, if not live now, you'll be catching us on YouTube. So if you've watched this in any capacity whatsoever, thank you so much. And with that, I'm mixing up the open mic a little bit, and I realized I was hitting ruts in people who I would introduce first, who I would introduce last. So I've been mixing it up now. So we now go to the shy one to start things off. Ladies and gentlemen, the man constantly in search for the second L in his first name, Bill.
Thank you so much. It's such a great pleasure to be here. You all keep me sane and keep me out of trouble. I was going to get into trouble earlier tonight. I was going to go to the Democratic Socialists meeting. And then I decided that would probably not be a wise idea. We would just get in a fight. They wouldn't do anything. They would ignore me. They're ignoring me anyway. What good is it for me to push their face into anything that's not going to work? However, you get to hear my rendition of, in poetry. Just a moment. Get my backgrounds all set up. This is what I was going to talk to them about, as you can probably guess. And this beautiful poem was inspired by several of my leftist peers. So here we go. Let's see, we're ready. Okay, here we go. He was just a homeless guy. You should have given him a buck. Then he wouldn't have cursed you and chased you around the street. What the fuck? Why do people like you so despise the poor? You could have shared with him, you have plenty more. So what? He shat upon the street. He had to go someplace, and now it's piled high and deep. The poor guy is homeless, abandoned by his peers. He's been on the street for 17 years. I remember in high school when we used to date. He got into so many drugs, and then I had to escape. It is his right to shoot heroin and crash out in the park. The kids don't even go there anymore, certainly not after dark. And then those self-righteous Karens smashing the door in his hand. He just wanted to kill the robot girl. You can understand. So give the guy $1 and let's get far away from here. I don't like walking here after the close of day. The gentleman you see in that movie behind me was released the next day, as he, of course, was considered a homeless but not a problem.
Thank you, Bill. Let's see who we have next today. I like bringing up the new voices, making sure they're heard. This next person made our acquaintance last week, and we're so glad she is back again. We brought smelling salts this time. Let's welcome up next from Michigan, Miss Ari Whipple.
Thank you. I'm going to read one that I just typed up just recently. It's from November. It's called Dance Hall at the Edge of the World. Welcome to the edge of the world where we all go when it goes to hell. It's all for the edge of nowhere where we all go when we die. Don't sigh, save your breath for the last gasping on the vent. Well spent and living on the end, flat lined, well dined in shirts and tails. We'll dance again in the sun's glory, just set up the light and we'll go there. The music begins to play and we all take our places.
Thanks so much. All right. And now I know who's going to go next. He's got a really nice piece of photography for a nice timely piece in oddballmagazine.com, just in time for the anniversary of the 26th, the January 6th coup attempt. That's at oddballmagazine.com. His photo is all too appropriate and graces the top post on the page by, I believe his name is David Williams. Yes. And thanks so much to Mr. Gentleman Galt. Ed Galt is up next.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chad. And Bill, you're not the only one who's ignored. I'm ignored not only by the Democratic Socialists, but also by the Communists, the Fascists, the Republicans, just about everybody. I even ignore me. I can't even prove whether I exist or don't exist. Anyway, on with the poem. It's called Selling the Globe. The guy from the Boston Globe called one night to get me to start a subscription to their paper. I told him that I lived in an apartment building and that people kept taking the paper. I had the paper for a long time, but had to let the subscription lapse as I could not afford to pay for a paper that I was not getting to read. But he kept pumping the whole fantasy of the morning paper by the toast and coffee. I was never up at that time on my days off. I never had my act together that early. I never had time for toast and coffee before I left for work. I always had to bring my coffee and buy my roll on the way to work. I couldn't afford the ebony ware, and what dishes we did have were never clean. But the man was roping horses for Jesus to get me to buy their paper. He had me on the phone for half an hour. Finally, I told him I would have the butler send him something in the mail, and hung up. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Galt. And a happy birthday to Ari Whipple, who just reminded me I'd actually seen, I always do a little birthday wishes on Stone Soup's Facebook page and on my blog. So if you have a YouTube video, Ari, let me send it to me and I'll make sure a whole bunch of people say it and leave little birthday icons at in the comment section of the repost. What else do we have? And the January 6th is also the anniversary of Miles Davis's death. Anniversary of Nancy Kerrigan getting a pipe to the knee. Where were you? I wasn't there yet. No, yes. I think I saw like what happened on, I need to figure out on the history, like what happened on May 12th. think something had to do with Richard Nixon around that time. Thankfully,
My
not his
birthday.
Oh, yeah, you okay? Yes, yeah. Tume Torai. Actually, your birthday, and also Lynn Germanara's wife, Sarah Oktay, is her birthday as well. Another poet. What is it with these Taurus poets? All right, we are, and Anne Ron Gobo also shares a birthday with me. What is it? What is it with the Taurus poets? There's too many of us. All right, let's go.
Fords.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Up next, let's oh, did he get dropped? Oh, that's too bad. Looks like Chris Fitzgerald got dropped, and I'm not sure why.
He's in the matrix.
I'm telling you, he comes and goes as he pleases. Like, I did not admit him in here, and yet he somehow showed up like, hey, how you doing? All right, so we'll have to, I'm not even joking. All right, then let's go to the next person on the list, Miss Jan Rowe. Don't seem to be muted. Don't seem to be unmuted, actually. There we go. Let's try that again. Uh-oh.
There we go.
Oh, good.
Okay, sorry, we goofed it up.
Another screen popped up.
We made the front page of the weekly. Black Seed Writers every Tuesday, 9:30. James is first, and I'm at the bottom, and my piece is called Private Police, Part 2. I wrote recently how the private police on horseback harassed my great uncle and his parents about a century ago. In December 2021, the private police broke into a home and arrested the tribal leader of Native Americans protesting how the oil pipeline will ruin drinking water. The private police, after hauling her away, burned the house, then bulldozed the site. This reminds me of a site in Syria, bulldozed 2019 March. About 70 women and children were killed accidentally by a drone, by a USA drone, bulldozed to cover up a war crime. One of our military called it a war crime. Task Force 9 was responsible for this war crime. Frequently, Task Force 9 is just reporting self-defense. Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha, Wisconsin claimed self-defense. Teen Crystal Kaiser in Kenosha was not allowed to claim self-defense when she shot the man who trafficked her and other underage girls he had videos of. Ironically, if the police hadn't released him that day, the human trafficker might still be alive. They were investigating, but they let him go. Thank you. I don't know why I'm getting kicked.
Thank you, Jan. As the search for Chris Fitzgerald goes on, we'll bring us now to the first of our callers, Miss Nancy Dodson. Looks like you're already unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Energy fades. Go to sleep, dear, and say, I want to feel rested today. What's that noise? Hum, hum. I'm asleep. Yes, come, sleep, come. Hum, hum. I can't write. It's that noise again. I'll turn on the light. The neighbor's lights are out. No electricity occurs without a doubt. I can't write with or without my pen. The alarm clock won't work. Woe is me, for sleep lurks.
Thank you, Nancy. So glad you're still joining us in year 10 of the pandemic. Or is it year 3 or 5? I have no idea anymore. Who do we have next? Yes. Here we have poet and crime novelist. Check out his books available on Amazon, his Kindle books. Mr. John Wesick.
Thanks. Here's a story called War All the Time. We'll see how much of it we can get through. Piercing blue eyes stared back from the bathroom mirror as Brock Huntsman ran a comb through his brush-cut hair. Even though he was in his early 30s, his sideburns were shot with gray, giving him an air of wisdom beyond his years. He's added a few pounds over the years, but even when wearing a golf shirt, his massive biceps drew the viewer's eyes away from the few extra millimeters on his waist. He didn't need aftershave. Whenever he entered a room, the air got so thick with testosterone you couldn't cut it with a diamond scalpel. He made a resolution to hit the gym after work as he ran a hand over the razor burn on his square jaw. He strapped himself into his Toyota Camry, 3,000 pounds of Japanese steel. He turned the key and the massive 3.5-liter V6 engine rumbled to life. Behind the wheel of this missile, capable of going from 0 to 60 in just 5.8 seconds, Huntsman's senses sharpened to a preternatural level. He motored out of the driveway, prepared for anything from a gun-wielding carjacker to children in need of rescue from a burning school bus. But first, he needed coffee. Help you? Shania Toothbrush couldn't take her eyes off the man dressed in business casual. As an actress going undercover to research a role as a barista turned philosopher, she compared him to the leading men she knew, but neither Jason Statham nor Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson could rival his manliness. Heat rose from her belly. Even though it was against company policy, she undid the top button of her blouse and fanned perspiration from her skin. Large coffee, Huntsman said. Cream and sugar with that? Shania could hardly get the words out because the sexual tension was too thick to cut with a titanium-bladed chainsaw. I like my coffee like my ex-wives, bitter. You know what Sartre said, baby? Shania stroked Huntsman's hand as she returned his change. Hell is other people. Huntsman! Chet Grafton ushered Huntsman into his office and closed the door behind him. Even though he was in his mid-50s, Grafton had the body of a 20-year-old due to his almost religious devotion to free weights. His erect but relaxed posture served him well throughout the years as his subordinates picked up on his air of command. What's up, Chief? Huntsman set his coffee on Grafton's desk and said, Sorry to do this to you, Brock, but the paper pushers at corporate won't take no for an answer. Grafton retrieved a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle bourbon from his desk drawer, poured himself a healthy glass, and offered the bottle to Huntsman. I need those budget projections by COB. Can you do it? Never one to pass up a challenge, Huntsman poured a healthy slug of Pappy Van Winkle into his coffee. As for the budget projections, they were a whole other story. It had been just 3 months since the department's reorganization, too soon to collect enough financial data to extrapolate future expenditures. His skin grew clammy at the thought of poor p-values and F-statistics that an attempt at ANOVA would produce. Huntsman flashed back a decade to Fort Benning, Georgia, when, as a newly minted Air Force lieutenant, fresh out of Quantico, he'd misplaced a decimal point on a congressional report about the F-35. His error had nearly cost the nation a fifth-generation fighter and himself a career. Nickels white on his coffee cup, he drained it in one healthy gulp. Huntsman clawed his way back from the abyss. If he were to come through for all the people who believed in him, he'd have to conquer not only a dozen interleaked spreadsheets, but his inner demons as well. Grafton's voice roused him from his reverie. Brock, can you hear me? Don't worry, Chief. Spaced out thinking of the way forward. I got this. Huntsman tripped over the first bear trap on his road to victory. When his workstation refused to boot up, he had no choice but to call IT in the person of Melvin Lafleur. When they'd first met, Huntsman had sized up Lafleur as a passive, aggressive pedant who used his knowledge of TCP/IP, JavaScript, HTML, and God knows what the software guys were using these days to compensate for his small chin. Subsequent months had only confirmed his view. "Oh my God," Lafleur looked up from Huntsman's monitor. "Windows Update has been disabled for 3 years. You're still on Service Pack 3. So, from Windows XP. What can I say? I like the classics. That just won't do at all." Lafleur began typing on Huntsman's keypad. "I'll have to update you to Windows 10 and Office 2119 immediately. When was the last time you ran a virus scan?" "Listen, Lafleur, I don't have time for your petty games. I have a job to do. Unlike you, I don't live in some IT ivory tower with your Python, R, structured query language, firewalls, and routers. I'm the front lines every day, doing least squares fits, calculating prediction intervals, and coming up with cost estimating relationships." Lafleur curled his thin, bloodless lips into a snarl and glared at the monitor. The tension was so thick you couldn't cut it with a 13th century Masamune sword. The antivirus software sounded a klaxon and flashed a skull and crossbones on Huntsman's monitor. "Oh my God, you've infected the entire network." Huntsman smiled. So maybe downloading that accounting app from the Nigerian prince had been a bad idea. But now he had Lafleur exactly where he wanted him. And I will continue it in the second round. And by the way, I'll post some links to my books in the chat.
Thank you, John. And lo and behold, he has returned, though considerably less power because I had to let him in. He didn't let himself in, but he's here now. Let's let him have his turn now. Mr. Chris Fitzgerald, I just asked you to unmute. So let's get you going.
So you can hear me.
Yes.
These are 2 ancient Athens pieces I've done over the years. Politics and religion both claim to make the world a better place if you follow the lessons of their declarative sentences. Poets don't like to speak in declarative sentences, except, of course, as a gag line. Brings back too many bitter memories of the poets' run-ins with the philosophers 2,500 years ago today, ancient Athens. Words mattered. So the poets and philosophers just try to elbow, metaphorically speaking, the other side into oblivion. Poets did not like philosophers. Thought they were smug, arrogant, hoity-toity. Philosophers didn't like poets. That when the poets weren't building castles in the sky, they seemed to just want to drink, smoke, and tell fat mama jokes. Here are 2 of my favorite Athenian fat mama jokes told by Zoba the poet. "Your mama is so fat, after I get through making love to her, I roll over 3 times. 3 times. I'm still on top of her. Your mama is so fat, she has more chins than a Hong Kong telephone directory." This got a lot of laughs, considering at the time only 1 in 17,000 Athenians could point to Hong Kong on a map. And a few Athenians who had heard about Hong Kong thought it was the capital of Wyoming. This is the other one. When we last met, we were in ancient Athens, and poets with their fat mama jokes. I don't want to make out everything was hunky-dory. When the poets went to bed at night, they thought the philosophers would see the error of their ways and kill themselves. So the next day, Athens would greet the world the way the poets wanted them to, as if everything was brand spanking new. When the philosophers went to bed at night, they thought the poets would see the folly of their ways and kill themselves, so that when Athens awoke, they would see the world in the angle of the philosophers. Oh, shit, I'm going to die someday. Both sides were always surprised when they saw the other side still around. It was the occasional fisticuffs, Friday, Saturday, excessive alcohol intake, but the redeeming grace it was a polytheistic society. Poets, philosophers, everybody had 200 or more gods. So if someone criticized one of your gods, yo, poet, your goddess Higgly Piggly has more pimples on her ass than Howard Johnson has ice cream flavors. You could just stand there and take it. You couldn't badmouth all your gods, too many of them. At some point, he would remember the dirty dishes he left soaking in the sink and go home and wash them. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And now all the way from New York, let's welcome up Patricia Kerrigan.
Hey. Okay. This is originally started out as two haiku, but written about my white birch in my neighborhood. However, I had a dream, so I added a tanka to this. But then one of my friends said on Breakfast, I belong to this group, online group. They said, oh, this sounds like you can make it all in one poem. So I said, you know what? I'm going to add another tanka. So here it goes. The tankas came from an actual dream. White birch, golden radiance against blue December sky. White birch on corner. Birds rest on white birch, yellow leaves, even brighter under winter sky. Tiger, large and fierce, transforms. A Bengal cat cries inside the ashram. A statue in white and gold awakens, offers solace. A single feather from Freya's V-necked collar calms his yellow eyes. Birds return to the white birch. Snow covers its fallen leaves. Thank you. I forgot to use the number one, the numbers before each group. Oh, well, I'm tired. Thank you.
I think we all followed, regardless. So no big deal. Thank you, Patricia. And with that, I bring us now to the great Carol Weston, who I'm going to help unmute. And you're ready to go, Carol.
Okay. I scream like a snake in the back of my throat, waits for my heartbeat to burst the amniotic sac of my soul. Thank you.
That was a quickie.
Could you repeat that again, Carol? I enjoyed that. I'd love to hear it again.
I scream like a snake in the back of my throat, waits for my heartbeat to burst the amniotic sac of my soul.
Thank you, Carol. Appreciate you humoring me by just letting me hear that again. I mean, I can rewind it later, but we just wanted to hear it again now. Up next, it's time for a little musical interlude. As he well knows, he's already unmuted himself and he's good to go. Let's welcome up the pulse of Stone Soup and the pulse of many things in Boston artistically, including amateur wrestling, or I should say independent all-star wrestling. Let's welcome up Mr. Ethan Mackler. Thank you, Ethan. From parts unknown, weighing a total of, I'll say 250 pounds, just including the equipment and the speaker you have to carry around, Ethan Mackler. Up next. And concluding the first round of this round robin. Let's welcome up the columnist for Oddball every Thursday morning. Check out his column, It's All One Thing, at oddballmagazine.com. And consider submitting some work yourselves if you haven't already in the last year or so. It's going to be a feisty year. We're already getting some new visual art contributors and a plethora of writers we haven't even gotten back to from last year. So we have a little surplus, but I'm just going to say we can always use more. And we also have some new interns helping us, so it's going to be a lot easier for me. So send all the work you want. Someone else is going to look at it. I don't mind. No, seriously, I'll be looking at the work, and I hope to see yours soon. And let's welcome up the man whose column goes up without fail every Thursday morning at 11 o'clock. Knowing I just said that, I'm probably going to have a stroke tonight. Let's welcome up James Van Looy.
Thank you. So I got, this is called Sidewalk Stethoscope, which was a publication that Jack used to make. It would usually be like a one-page flyer, or maybe 2 or 3, or sometimes 4 pages. And so anyway, this is called Sidewalk Stethoscope. I first met Jack Powers, founder of Stone Soup Poetry, in his bookstore, art gallery, community corner institution in the storefront first floor of one of the last 3-story walk-ups left from urban renewal raising the old West End. It was his version of Lawrence Ferlinghetti's City Lights, which Jack had visited while still just a teenager in the early 1950s, when he fled Boston for California, only to eventually return to the city with a cradled vision. And even after Jack lost the storefront Stone Soup version up in his place on Joy Street, there was a Ferlinghetti poster of Jack of Hearts around that led us to many events, Jack Kerouac birthday parties, which then too led all the way up to Lowell and the old mill complex. And as Stone Soup migrated through many diverse venues, from Peter Piper Restaurant in Boston and beyond to Green Street and TT the Bears Bar in Cambridge, and all the while, and all the permutations, ever and ever, right through Jack's illness and death, was Ferlinghetti, my parents' generation, a World War II Navy veteran who saw Nagasaki a few days after the bomb, still there. He was always still there. And here's one of his poems, very short. Poetry as insurgent art. I am signaling you through the flames. I am signaling you through the flames. The North Pole is not where it used to be. Manifest destiny is no longer manifest. Nemesis is knocking at the door. What are poets for in such an age? What is the use of poetry? If you would be a poet, create works capable of answering the challenge of apocalyptic times, even if this meaning sounds apocalyptic. You are Whitman. You are Poe. You are Mark Twain. You are Emily Dickinson and Edna St. Vincent Millay. You are Neruda and Mayakovsky and Pasolini. You are American or non-American. You can conquer the conquerors with words. Lawrence Ferlinghetti.
Oh,
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright-breasted day, dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They learn so much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Louis Armstrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Looy. And we go back to start. Pass go, get $200. Try not to roll doubles 3 times. Okay. And our first, so we go back to the beginning, then we go back to the end again, and then we stop for some reason, probably because we're tired. Let's welcome up to start us off again, Mr. Bill Lewis.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is such an honor and a pleasure, etc., etc. So I'm going to be happy after that wonderful rendition of Louis Armstrong. It's one of the gorgeous songs. It is a wonderful world. And that's, do you know how good we have it? Do you know how wonderful this world is? Do you know how horrible things were 100 years ago, 200 years ago? We have it so good. And if we just try a little bit harder, we can build a veritable utopia. But now I'm going to talk about sad things. This is part of my life, which is difficult to relate to you. I'm sure that if you feel sad for me, I can understand. Don't worry about crying for my sad fate. So here we go. Sitting on launch, watching the birds fly, watching mosquito fly, watching time fly. Everybody flies but me. They call for east, so I set up for east. And I watch folks flying west. Wherever I go, it's blowing down. I never know which way's best. Pre-flight hooking, I'm ready to go. Then an hour and a half on launch. If I take a dump and the valley lifts free, everybody flies but me. First in the morning, last at night, I can't get off of that hill. Wait, where's my other? I've got more hang glider pilots, hang glider photos somewhere. There we go. Wrong photos. First in the morning, last at night, I can't get off of that hill. I must have pissed off them wind gods bad to grudge me such an evil will. Try QSO on my ICOM. I play music on my Vario. I've got a Z3 pillow and a 20 Gore pillow and just waiting for that wind to blow. My catheter dribbled as I sucked on my tube and I watched the clouds float by. With my feet propped up in the shadow I lay of my $3,000 full wraith tweaked out surf-coated metal cloth double-sleeved airwave sunshade. Poor me! Poor me! I didn't have to fly. Oh, wrong one. There we go. Woohoo!
Thank you, Bill. Apologies in advance for everyone who has to follow. Anyone who has to follow that. Oh yes, here she is right now, Miss Ari Whipple.
Okay, so you have a choice and just put up one or two. The first one is another one I wrote in November, or two, the more fun one is from my chat book about dog poop. So
Dog poop!
All right, I'll read the dog poop one. It's called
We're all going for number 2.
All right, it's called There Were Even Bags Nearby. Some people are the worst, like this asshole right here who let this cute dog take a giant shit on a beautiful beach, a public beach that we all walk on, and didn't clean it up. I watched him as he watched his dog finish and shrug his shoulders as if there's nothing to be done, but led his golden dog away on the brilliant shining sand Well, a kid stepped in it and started crying. Thanks.
You can do all right here, Ari. You gotta do all right. Let's and there's a whole chapbook of this. Nice. Feather from Bill. Okay, let's welcome up next. Oh, follow that killer, Mr. Edward Gentleman Galt. His middle initial is S, but the S stands for gentleman in my book. Mr. Galt, Ed Galt, you're up. Ed, can you hear me? Uh-oh. Oh, there you go. So we looks like we had a little crazy misconnection, some kind of like weird reception issue, but we can see you now.
Okay, can you see me now?
Yeah, I mean, we could see you
Okay.
before, but you seemed stopped. You were like trapped like this.
Oh, okay.
So I was almost gonna go like this, Ed, but that wouldn't have worked. Okay, you're good. You're
Okay.
good.
They call this high tech. I don't know. Anyway, this is called the Duck Procession. Each of the ducks had a little black veil on its head as they filed by in a line. They would not take the bread offered by children. They would not listen to the lady at the juice kiosk making her quacky noises. They wanted us all to see that one of theirs had fallen prey to hunters on their weekend fling and was now simpering in its own juices, later to be served at the table with cranberry sauce. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
very
Ed.
much.
Thank you very much. And who is next? Oh, of course, Mr. Chris Fitzgerald. This is the part. This is the part where you would go. You would have gone normally if we didn't lose you. Looks like we haven't lost you again. So that's great. So if you want to read right now, all you have to do is unmute yourself. Mr. Chris. Paging Chris Fitzgerald. Okay. Looks like we'll go to Jan. We'll figure out what's going on with him in a little bit. But Jan Rowe, looks like you're up next.
Hi. What I have are just 5 short quotes. It's part of our writing on Tuesdays. We get a sheet that has some suggestions and quotes, and some of them that James Parker finds are quite memorable. Like this one. From my left eye flows tears of joy, of sorrow from my right. You might be too strong to surrender, boy, but you're far too frail to fight. That's Aaron West. I like this one. I always strive when I can to spread sweetness and light. There have been several complaints about it. That's P.G. Woodhouse. This is somewhat scary. Leon Bloy. I pray like a robber, asking alms at the door of a farmhouse to which he is ready to set fire. Leon has another disturbing one. Pity cannot extinguish my anger, for my anger is the daughter of infinite foreboding. I am devoured by the need for justice, as though by a dragon famished since the days of the deluge. And the last one, Evelyn Underhill. When we are in good health, we all feel very real, solid, and permanent. And this is of all our illusions the most ridiculous. Thank you.
Quick little update. Looks like Chris Fitzgerald decided to step out and he's stepping back in again. Again, he's the Matrix. Let's see what we have. Well, let's see what we have while we wait for him to join us. Let's welcome up and let's ask her to unmute. Unmute yourself, Nancy Dodson, and you can go on next. Nancy, are you there? There you go.
Winter. Snowflakes peep behind my window. The wind blows against my face. Cold penetrates the body. Winter, go away. The freezing rain creates a skating rink. Watch out or you will fall. No bumps along the nose or knees, please. Just skate along with me. Why the wind, Lord? Why the hail and cold? My breath escapes in mist. I submit myself to thee.
Thank you very much, Nancy. And now we're going to move over to, actually, looks like Chris is back. Chris, I'm going to ask to unmute you. And looks like you can go now. Chris is back.
Okay, you can hear me.
Yes, and we can see you. Well, we can see your name, but yes.
Okay. This is the first part of the second part that I read last week. It's on Michelangelo. I mean, my three favorite Italians, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, and Raphael. In America, it's Tony Soprano, Vito Corleone, and Christopher Columbus. I mean, I like my guys better. I'm going to bring in one of the all-time heavy hitters to watch my back, Michelangelo, Michael the Archangel in English. He was named after one of the celestial beings who took care of God's more mundane chores. Michael the Archangel was the prince of the archangels. He held up your soul on Judgment Day, heaven, hell, purgatory, weighing it. I've always loved the Catholic Church use of metaphor and nuance. Michelangelo, the non-celestial being, was the first artist. Before him, there were craftsmen and women. Before him, everyone sucked up to the status quo. He helped bring free thought into being as a valued activity. Free thought. You have to teach yourself how to think. No one can do it for you. Public education, be it taxpayer supported or private money, doesn't teach anyone how to think, but how to be a valued member of some economic system. Hegel's old line, who cares what they think, just as long as they obey. They don't teach you how to see what is in front of you, but how to pay your rent, phone bill, place down the cape. That's what gives the system order. Back to Michelangelo. He has this unique relationship with Pope Julius II, the warrior pope. The pope, just like leaders like the Egyptian pharaohs 1,000 years previously, wanted to be remembered after his death with a memorable monument, a tomb. The Sistine Chapel was a little bit different. Michelangelo had started out on the Pope's tomb. Then the Pope wanted Michelangelo to work on the walls and ceilings of the Sistine Chapel. Catholic history. There's a one-liner that has been used 1,000 years. It's up there with where the bear releases his fecal matter. Is the Pope a Catholic? I mean, it's one of the sure things you can count on in life. Michelangelo was 100 times more Catholic than Julius II, but he didn't follow the Catholic established narrative. 10 years earlier, the Pieta, why a lot of people, myself included, consider Michelangelo the first artist. The Pieta is this 49, 50-year-old woman being given a dead body of a 33-year-old son. He gave it a youthful look, the youthful complexion of a 20-something-year-old woman. Therefore, now, while the youthful you sits on the skin like the modern dew. This was the way before the time of the late-night infomercials with the 800 numbers to call to receive those miracle creams, which ought to take 20, 30 years off your complexion. Don't use these creams. If you're pregnant, maybe become pregnant, or know how to spell pregnant. So when the critics looked at Mary, the mother of Jesus in marble in the Pieta, how can she look so young? But just as Michelangelo's response, still a virgin, still resisting guys pawing at her. It's a good shut-up line. He wasn't speaking chisel truth. He didn't follow established narrative. He wasn't imposed upon by the virgin birth. The big implication from the virgin birth was something impure, unclean, perhaps even dirty, of the male and female exchanging bloody fluids. Michelangelo didn't go for that. Just breathing the air seemed to be a cause of celebration for Michelangelo. Michelangelo's main focus seemed to be being an honest, creative human being, not the smoke and mirrors, not the fraud or fart around the roles his society had to offer its members. So when he started to work on the frescoes, Sistine Chapel, there were penises, women with that slit between their legs, nudity, more nudity, not overwhelming nudity, but just enough to be representative of the human experience. It wasn't a big deal. When Michelangelo and his apprentice went home for the night, the Pope would sometimes walk through his Sistine Chapel. He would see the nudity. Where are the fig leaves? Where are the loincloths? Where does he think he is? This is a Catholic church. Make the nudes decent. Cover them up. So the Pope had a surrogate, a bishop or Monsignor, say to Michelangelo, nudity has to go. Michelangelo said there's an easy answer for that. Tell the Pope, get rid of sin of the world, and I'll get rid of the nudity. One of my favorite answers of all time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And with that, who do we have next? Yes, Mr. John Wesick. Ready to go, sir?
Yes, I am. We're going to continue on. Brock, Ms. Lauren Featherboa Axhandle let out an involuntary gasp when the last person she ever expected to see in human resources swaggered into her office. Her glance at his massive biceps and square jaw scrambled the languid circuits in her brain. She fantasized about a real man, far superior to her Ned, who did his fair share of the housework and always asked for her affirmative consent in bed. She wanted to smash the door to her safe room, shake her hair out of its bun, and run like a wild she-wolf, licking caribou's blood from her fangs. Please sit down. I want to file a harassment complaint. Huntsman opened the employee handbook to the section forbidding discrimination against those with communicable diseases on page 59 and set it on Lauren's desk. I'm all ears. Lauren leaned forward, exposing cleavage deeper than the Olduvai Gorge. As she listened to Huntsman's theory that a computer virus was just another type of communicable disease, she began to feel warm and gooey inside, just like one of the home-baked brownies she wanted to smear all over Huntsman's massive biceps. The sexual tension was so thick that you couldn't cut it with an obsidian blade found in the Lascaux caves. No, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Huntsman goes back to work, and then he goes to lunch and has a cooking contest with his nemesis named Swenson that he eventually wins. So we're back. Huntsman's now back at his cubicle. Huntsman died on the processed cheese food melted over stale white bread. It was the best meal he'd ever eaten. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and glanced at his watch. Oh no, the cooking contest had used up most of the afternoon, leaving him just 45 minutes to finish the budget projections. His pulse raced like the click of abacus beads as he flashed back to Fort Benning, Georgia. The fragrance of freshly baked peach pie carried the tang of humiliation. Accountants leered from behind their slide rules and adding machines as Mrs. Fletcher carried the document with the misplaced decimal point toward Admiral Blumtrapster's office. No! Huntsman struggled to reach her, but he might as well have been moving through peach jello. My grandmare fed me that disgusting viand every day. My grandmare fed me that disgusting viand every day. Swenson's words echoed in Huntsman's head. That was it. Swenson's weakness was that he couldn't accept where he came from. Huntsman pictured himself sitting in the high chair with a bunch of IRS Form 1040s spread across the kitchen table. His mother held a spoon of baby food in one hand while testing the other on an adding machine. Here comes the choo-choo into the cave. She maneuvered the spoon into Huntsman's mouth. When you grow up, always remember to cross-check your calculations, Brock. Cross-check. That was it. He'd used the Newton project to cross-check last year's projections. He spent a pulse-pounding 30 minutes updating spreadsheets before delivering the projections to Grafton's office. Just 007 seconds to spare. Thank God you did it, Brock. You just saved the company. I'm putting you in for a $20,000 raise. Did I say $20,000? I meant 40,000. Huntsman found a stunning woman draped across the hood of his Toyota when he exited to the parking lot. With her nose ring and dreadlocks pressed against the sun-warmed metal, the sexual tension was so thick you couldn't cut it with a 6-kilowatt neodymium laser. Hey, baby. Shania, thought I'd take you up on your offer of dinner. How about the French Laundry? I love their coq au vin. Oh, hell no, I hate that stuff. In that case, how about coming over to my place for some Swedish meatballs? Great. I can work on my epistemology homework while it cooks. And there you go.
Love it. Hard-boiled office politics. Love it. let's see who we have. Oh, yes. Patricia Kerrigan. Looks like you're up next.
Velveeta. I'm just thinking of Velveeta after listening to that, John. Some Swedish meatballs. Okay, let me read this. Inspired by Sarah Vaughan. I fall in love too easily. Love falls in love, trips on a sidewalk, more scrapes to knees and elbows. Love bounces back, must keep going, must stay strong, cause routine is a bitch, and 9-to-5 behemoths live outside 9-to-5 cells. Must ward off evil eyes, must not wear red letters at work or on streets. Have to find love, any kind of love, deceitful love, abusive love, narcissistic love, workaholic love, empty love, status symbol love, sex only love, shut the hell up love. But love's knees and elbows can't take any more blood or blisters. They know the truth hurts less than lies. Love wises up, a resignation text jolts the matrix.
Back to Velveeta and the Matrix. What's the common themes for tonight? Good God, you'll be surprised. Up next, another encore from Carol Weston, who should be unmuting in a couple of seconds. There you go.
Thank you. Azraphel, hands around her neck. I have come to introduce you to death, Azraphel said. Hold your hands tighter so I can see my destiny, she said. In my pocket I carry fossil whale's inner ear for balance, and jasper to represent the floor of heaven. I, who cannot speak, call through infinity, and my voice echoes up the stairway to heaven. Azraphel, angel of death, protect me. Thank you.
Love it, Carol. Thank you so much. And now, as you can tell in the background, it is time once again for the musical mayhem of Mr. Meckler. Let's give it up for Ethan. And with that, I'm looking forward to your next duo with Cece, who direct messaged me, said he couldn't make it tonight, but he hopes to be back soon. He's been in the middle of his move.
I have a story about online collaboration I can share once we finish this.
Oh, okay, cool. Up next, and last but not leastly, well, last and then the story from Ethan. We're going to bring back Mr. James Van Looy one more time. Check out his column at oddballmagazine.com tomorrow, and check out oddballmagazine.com in general. Mr. Van Looy.
Okay, so I got, this is a poem called The George Soros Koch brothers saga. The George Soros Koch brothers saga. Try to talk about the half-century fact of the billionaire assault on our democracy, started by the Powell memo and Powell's appointment to the Supreme Court a year later by Tricky Dicky Nixon, to a 1976 Wright the Buckley versus Vallejo decision that would cancel the campaign finances laws specifically designed to combat dark money like Nixon's millions from mobsters, equating speech and money is free speech, which set us on course to the oh-so-unholy alliance of fundamentalist evangelicals and fundamentalist economics. Markets always the devil of the sacred, elevated to being market uber-holics everywhere. Globalization of capital, walls going on up for the workers left trapped in a raped world, toxic environment that becomes all of us. The infrastructure interface, the digital horde descending, ever descending. David Koch dead, but the Koch brothers network goes on and on and on. And the Tea Party morphs automatically into Agent Orangehead in his MAGA mob madness, charging up the national Capitol steps, chanting, USA, USA, USA. But mention those Koch brothers and they will come back at you in an instant. George Soros, the Jewish face of the left. Somehow connected, they say, to the Rothschilds. This 19th century anti-Semitic trope embedded in European culture, at least all the way back to the very first crusade, when before Pope Urban II issued his plea to the feudal aristocracy of consolidating Christendom after Islam invaded, after the Viking invasions, when the pagans were being forcibly converted. Already, a Peter the Hermit, an anchorite, who spent years living alone in the forest and who was reported to already have traveled to Jerusalem, where he had a vision of Christ who gave him an actual missive to carry back to the people in Europe, dying of mysterious plague that killed off half of whole villages, and living through already massive social change by consolidation of Christendom, economic entity, of feudal expropriation, so that massive numbers of discarded peasants rose up and set off for the salvation of the Holy Land, Jerusalem, the navel of a labyrinth world. And on their way up the Rhine to the Danube, they attacked the Jewish ghettos on the way, driven by rumors of secret Jewish rituals of sacrifice of children, the original blood libel, the purported motivation for programs for centuries, often enacted on Good Friday after the annual reenactment of the Passion in the Stations of the Cross, a crusade for European colonial imperialism. And let me sing a little Dutch song. It's het is doif moe weta, apakat van mattelijke pier, maar they zijn ek wide versleten, en ik vlieg bekend meer. In de tide niks is reizen, nor quivering of nor pointje, feel ik sometimes in the prize, vet de water pier dan zee. Oh, meine blauwe geschöpfte, guys aan mijn lievelingsstreek. Oh, meine blauwe geschöpfte, geliefd in de bovenste schoot. Gezeken pakkat, door krok van mijn kak. Ik had een duive kattelifka. Het was een vinnig en de nap. Maar het moest som op een difka. Vielen op een wittoskap. En dan vloog ik voor te winnen. Ik hoor bij mijn liefke zijn. Kom ik dan als eerste binnen. Dat was duive kattekwijn. Oh, meine blauwe geschöpfte, guys aan mijn lievelingsstreek. Oh, meine blauwe geschöpfte, geliefd in de bovenste schoot. Gezeken pakkat, de krek van mijn kat. Gezeken pakkat, de krek van mijn kak. Ik zijn het old en ik zijn versleten. Daarvoor en duif niet mee. Alle man is mij vergeten. Er is niemand die nog zegt. Oh, meine blauwe geschöpfte, guys aan mijn lievelingsstreek. Oh, meine blauwe geschöpfte, geliefd in de bovenste schoot. Gezeken pakkat, de krek van mijn kat. Gezeken pakkat, de krek van mijn kat. Gezeken pakkat, de krek van mijn kat. Thank you. Oh.
Gonna have to cut a demo before long, James. Thanks for sharing
Thank you.
all this good stuff. And thanks to everyone else for sharing tonight. And so what's the story of the collaboration, Mr. Mackler?
Oh, just that I was at there's another online open mic that's later after Stone Soup on alternate Wednesdays, and last week it was my second time there, second or third time, and it was going okay, but I really wanted to do something to really knock them out. So I asked one of the co-hosts if she'd want to read something while I play, and I guess they weren't used to it, so she seemed sort of like all right. So she found something, and I'm like, oh. Then I started to feel awkward. I shouldn't have asked. But we did the collaboration. We did it with the time delay, whatever, and it went over really well. Like people were, I don't know if it was like a minute or whatever. I was pretty long on time afterwards of them like, whoa, I was like, they had never heard it, stuff like that before, but I don't know, we've done it here and it's, sort of business as usual, so it was really great. And then one of the open micers wanted me to back them again. And so I did that. So that was two for, what is it? 2 for 0, whatever. But unfortunately, they're scattered throughout the world. I think one of them was in the UK and the other's in New Mexico. So,
We'll have to get you. You'll have to ask for some video next time.
It was recorded. I think it's probably posted somewhere.
Oh, I'll have to take a look. What's the name of that open mic?
The Word is Right.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that. All right, I'll take a
I
look
think
for it.
don't they have the word is right like every night from with a different host or something, and they got this big empire of Zoom readings that.
Yeah, it's or something like that. I think they have something like every night of the week.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
I'll have to take a look. But thank you, guys. But thank you all very much for being here tonight, and please be here next week. I'm hoping to introduce a lot of new people to the open mic to Stone Soup as Megha Sood comes to us to read from her latest collection, and probably 20 more poems that she's going to write between now and next week, because this person's writing and publishing dynamo. Keep him busy. Just look up her website, which is linked from the Stone Soup page at stonesoup.poetry.blogspot.com. And I'll probably link a couple of things later on this week to help beef up the promotion. I thank all of you guys for your patience tonight and for bearing with us, as we've had like a lot of open mics, but no features, and more features are coming. More exciting voices are coming, and hopefully we'll get an update as to what's going on. But I'll tell you, the teachers are getting sick. Everyone's getting sick. You know, I have to keep my head up because I have to go to work every day. So I have to pay attention to this. But all I'm going to say is keep safe, everyone, as best you can, and take care of yourselves. And hopefully we'll see a light sooner than anyone suspects pessimistically. So we will, but in the meantime, keep writing, spread the word about Stone Soup, and I'll be doing the same, and hopefully we'll have some more features announced by the end of this week. But thank you all for coming tonight. We're going to do the Stone Soup Wave, the first one for 2022. This is exciting. And pause. And we're done. Okay, because if you do this, and every time I try and pause it, it just looks like a blurred hand. Like, what are they doing? But yes, keep your safe, lock your doors, and especially you, Artie, and keep yourself safe, and keep writing, keep creating, submit to Oddball Magazine, share your stuff on the Stone Soup Facebook page and elsewhere. And I think that's it. That's all the great advice I can give, aside from brushing your teeth 3 times a day minimum. And have a good night and get some rest. We'll talk soon.
thanks everybody. Happy New Year.
Good night, guys. Good to have you all back.
Stay safe. They say in a few weeks it should be better. The Omicron here in NYC, so they say. So I'm here.
Yeah. Keep safe all the same. Keep us updated.
Yeah.
Keep checking in.
Wear your mask and wash your hands.
That we will. Take care, guys. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Show's over. See you next time.
Got new glasses.
Bye.